Oh my goodness. Welcome back, everybody, to Phil's Recap and Review. This will be for Picard, the series premiere, Remembrance. And I am back, remembering what it's like to podcast, here again to talk about this episode of Picard. Welcome back, everybody. Now, I haven't been here for a little bit, but this is one of those premieres that I could not miss. It premiered last night at 12 midnight. I kind of thought it would be like Discovery, and it would, let me turn down this effing music, and it would premiere more on the evening hours, like 8:30, but it did come on last night, so I was able to watch it first thing this morning, and I'm going to be here every week to talk about every episode of Picard. Now, to start things off, before we get too far into this, wait, let me put myself up on screen. Here I am. Oh my goodness. Don't watch the show, but I'm here to holler and hope things been good for Phil. And, of course, I'm not alone. I already have one person with me, and I'll have some other people jumping on in here and there throughout this live stream. So if you're watching this later, please try to join us live. I'm not sure when this podcast is going to exist and live quite yet, but I will be streaming after every episode of Captain Picard. So make sure you jump into the live motherfucking chat! The live motherfucking chat. That's the people that are watching us live right now. Right now we have Killmonger, and we have the analysis of Thrones, my Switch Nintendo pal that I've seen live that I wanted to invite to a game of Sonic versus Mario in the Olympics, but I'm not sure quite how to do that. But I'm back. I've been on a little bit of a break, a little bit of a hiatus, doing a theatrical play, and that is almost over. I'm stepping into that this weekend for my last production, and then I'll be back more full-time doing the podcast, playing some catch-up as I do on occasion. But as I mentioned, I could not wait to come out here and talk about Picard. I woke up this morning, saw that it got posted last night. I was like, oh shit, I could have watched this last night. Watched it first thing, wrote my little notes. Half-assed notes. I have to thank EW for my recap today, because I wanted to watch and experience the show as a big, giant Star Trek dick slap across my face. And how did I feel about that dick slap? Did it lay well? Did it hit me in those proper cheeky areas to give me a good feeling, or did it poke me in an unfortunate area to fuck up my eye or make it so I can't see too well? What kind of dick slap did Picard give me? Now, first off, I've talked a lot about Discovery on this channel, talked about the Orville a bit. Now, this new era of Star Trek, I've bitched about the J.J. Abrams Star Treks. I kind of enjoyed the first one. The second one's a hot piece of shit. And the third one has some redeemable qualities to it, but I still don't enjoy it. I think my favorite of all the three of those is the first one. And partially because of the Star Trek video game, which gives you a little bit more backstory for that, or the comic, where Geordi's the one who creates Spock's ship and all that sort of shit. The first thing I want to say about Picard right off the bat is Picard did the unthinkable for me. The first unthinkable thing it did for me was make the JJ movies better. I can't quite explain it. I mean, I'll get into it a little bit, but there was something about the way Picard was talking about that added a little bit more texture to the mix of the universe that J.J. Abrams shat out of his fucking lost ass. You know, like, let me get a fucking lens flare up my ass all over your Star Trek, right? Now, he did that. It's fine. I accept it. It's part of the fucking shit that happens with if you have the name Star in your title, in your franchise. If you have the word fucking Star in your title, J.J. Abrams has to inappropriately touch your franchise. You know, it happens. So, he did it, but Picard makes that better. And I'm going to be straight out right off the bat here with my quick thoughts, review, initial impressions kind of thing. Picard is fucking awesome. I enjoyed the first episode a lot. It starts out right with a big, am I just going to be talking about dick slaps all day? A really big slap across your face right at the beginning where you get something that you thought they may have held on to for a little while, but that's okay. A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine goes down better. And I might not be able to talk properly today. I apologize. It's been a while since I've been out here. So I might just be going, Picard! Ah! Ooh! Khan! Picard! You know, there might be some shit like that. But oh my goodness, looking out of the side of my side butthole eye, I am not alone. I have with me a lot of motherfucking live chatters. Mob Forever is here. Glad you're back. You've been MIA for a while. Yes. As I mentioned earlier, or I've mentioned on a previous cast, I was doing a play, or I'm still technically doing it. The last day of it starts tomorrow, or the last weekend starts on Friday, which is tomorrow. And then I have 4 more performances, and then I am done with that for a while. And I'll talk all about that. Joe Dirty Locks actually saw the show. Me and him are going to do a podcast on the play, and I think he took a couple of videos maybe. And we're going to watch some of that, rag on me, or have some fun with it. Talk about how awesome the rest of the actors were and how bad I suck. Whatever we're going to talk about, we're going to get into that. But that's where I've been on MIA for a while. I got cast in a play, and I've been doing that, which has been a lot of fucking fun. I can't lie, and I'll be talking all about that as time goes on. But I'm back to talk about Picard. I cannot get enough of Star Trek, as you guys know, and this show touched me in the right place. I invited it into my house. I invited it to sit next to me, and it made the proper moves on me to make me happy. So, glad you're back. We've got a game soon. Mario and Sonic Rules. We gotta get some matches soon. Also going to discuss the Three Houses. Dear Lord, that game was amazing. Fire Emblem. If you're a Fire Emblem fan and you haven't played Three Houses yet, get the fuck on that. It's maybe the best Fire Emblem game ever made. I would argue maybe Awakenings too, and I know people are like, Awakenings, but I really like Awakenings, and I like what it did for the franchise when it came out, and I thought they put so much into it. I think Three Houses is amazing. It's like Fire Emblem mixed with some Harry Potter elements as well, and some Game of Thrones-ness too thrown in there, and I very much enjoy it. And I have to say, Sonic versus Mario at the Olympics, the most recent one. Most people are rolling your eyes. Phil, you're talking about Sonic versus Mario. It has an option that makes it very entertaining, where you can play back in the day games. I think it's I forget what year it's called, but where you can play things that are very similar to track and field from the NES and stuff. I'm not saying it's a great game, but if you're looking for a good multiplayer game to get right now, wait for that game to drop in price and then get it, because it's better than the previous ones in the franchise. But Star Trek Picard, here we go. Here we fucking go. Do you have to know the history? Welcome back, Phil. Great to see you, lad. Killmonger, do you have to know the history to watch Picard? It helps. It informs it better. There are some elements, and I'm sure you're going to see many motherfuckers jumping on this and hooking up their milking franchise, their milkingness, their YouTube milking to this Picard thing, and you're going to see a video on X channel soon. All the things, if it doesn't exist already, all the things you need to know to watch Picard. But even more so after it's aired now, one of those channels like New Rockstar or something would break down every video and tell you where that's from, every little Easter egg thing. Can you watch it individually on your own? Yes, but is it going to be as... I use the same words because I'm not very intelligent. Is it going to be as textured? No. But is it a well-produced program from what I've seen so far in this first episode? Yes. I think it's produced at a higher quality than Discovery right off the bat. And I mean, I'll get into this in a second, but the film stock looks better than Discovery. Discovery looks beautiful in the sense of some of the special effects and the way it all comes together, but Picard has much more of a centered down feel. There's only one moment where the effect kind of took me out of it, when a certain character had super speed for a second. Yes, that happened. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, yeah, that looks kind of fake. But for the most part, I thought it looked excellent. I thought it was filmed well. Patrick Stewart adds a lot of gravitas to the screen, having him on there and giving you a little bit of those feels that you get when you watched him in Logan, in the sense of like seeing a character that knows he has less days ahead of him than behind him, and has made many mistakes. There's a wonderful line in there where you've been hiding out, you've been living or something, and he goes, I haven't been living, I've been waiting to die. I forget I'm paraphrasing, but there's something to that effect, and there's definitely that feel over the whole thing. If you're a fan of Patrick Stewart and you're a fan of sci-fi in general, I think you're going to find enough things to glob onto this. But there's, in this first episode, in not a shove it up your ass kind of way and mugwai kind of way, there's a celebration of Star Trek past, of Next Generation. There's some references, there's some associations that would be difficult to find those positronic synapses without without having watched Star Trek Next Generation and kind of bathed in that and bathed in the movies. So I'll try to give you guys as much reference as possible, as I know some people do like watching this channel for my insane stupidity, not necessarily my coverage of these TV shows, because I'm there every day, giving you the breakdowns. No, but so I'll try to give you guys some referential bullshit, because I'm kind of, I wouldn't say I'm the most. I'd say there are people that know Next Generation and know this universe better than I do, but I do know it relatively well, and I will be able to pinpoint, when he's talking about Maddox, that's the guy from Season 2 of Star Trek Next Generation that tries to prove that Data's the property of Starfleet so he can run experiments on him and recreate the Dr. Sung's experiments. But it ends up getting squashed because Picard has to fight for Data's sentience and individuality, similar to what Johnny Five gets in Short Circuit 2, when he becomes a citizen of the universe, so to speak. And Data gets the same kind of thing, where in that episode, Picard's forced to, or Riker is forced to defend Maddox, and Picard's forced to defend, or not forced, or compelled to defend Data in figuring out if he's human and can make his own decisions, as Data decides he does not want to go with Maddox to the institute that gets mentioned in this episode. So, like, super references to that. The Borg, people might not know what the Borg is. There are definitely some relative references to the Borg. Okay, so before I do something I don't want to do, from this point on, I will be giving spoilers for the first episode of Picard, and even more spoilers for Star Trek The Next Generation if I haven't already done that shit already. I fucking hate that I have to, say this shit, because obviously if you're clicking on a fucking video that says Picard, breakdown, what do I call this shit? Recap, discussion, and review. I'm gonna be talking about what happens in the fucking episode, but I feel like I have to say this. Spoiler alert for Star Trek and for the episode of Picard. Okay. So let me catch up with the chat a little bit. So that's one question. Do you have to know the history? No, but it sure as fuck would help. Well, here's the thing. It sounds like Star Trek is all political. I mean, Star Trek does have some elements of that, especially Next Generation has always been something that looks at moral issues or legal issues or political issues in the world of which it is. I try to shut my fucking brain off for that, in the sense of what allegorical reference it could have for societal bullshit that's going on today. I tend to view it more in the box that it is on the show. I don't want to lose my interest in anything that could be good or bad because of any shit I have inside of me. Not everything to me has to be a reference of what the fucking world is today. Sometimes stuff can just be good old-fashioned entertainment, and I think for Picard, that's how I'm going to take it. I don't care what the showrunners care or trying to teach me in every episode from certain standpoint. I care if it's entertaining and if it's fun to watch. And the episode was fun to watch. I can deal with someone whipping their soapbox dick across. What is with me with dicks across my face? You will assimilate to my dick across your face. Thank you, Borg. Jordy the Jedi, what's up, buddy? Haven't seen it yet, but I heard it was good. It was good. I had a lot of fun watching it. And if this is indicative of the rest of the season in the series, I see why it got picked up already for season 2, and I'm very excited to see where this season goes. Even though I kind of have a feeling I know where the season's going to go. From this one episode, I'm going to make my speculation of where I think this season's going to go. And we can see if I'm right. But I think everything's all set up that you can see where they're going. And maybe that's a weakness of the show right now, or maybe they're going to surprise the fuck out of me. I don't know. Merle Davis. I said it before, but those movies should have been called Space Action. I think in general, those movies should have encompassed more of the general crew of all of the shows. And I think that's what Picard's going to do, where we see that Jerry Ryan's the main character. I hope that we do get some Deep Space Nine characters as well. Holy fucking shit, we got a ghost flying in. There's a wild haunter appearance. We got my good buddy Carmine in the live motherfucking chat. I started watching Deep Space Nine recently. I tried getting into THG. That's like TNG, but wrong. And I just couldn't do it. I'll check this out because I do know about Patrick Stewart's amazing speeches and the Borg. See, it's weird, Carmine. it's hard for me to suggest watching Star Trek Next Generation or Deep Space Nine, for that matter, from the beginning now. Because, especially Next Generation, the first 2 seasons of Next Generation, for the most part, Season 2 has some good elements, but I'd say for the most part, first 2 seasons are not the best that the shows have to offer. I think both Deep Space Nine and Next Generation, and I'm not talking about Voyager right now. Voyager, I think, is a different argument and a different conversation for a different day, especially once Jerry Ryan shows up on this fucking show next week. Or whenever she shows up. But talking about Deep Space Nine and Next Generation, I think Voyager was benefited from their mistakes in a sense. I think the first 2 seasons of both those shows are a struggle. I think especially Next Generation does not, for me, get great until season 3. I think once you see Riker it's funny that it all revolves around facial hair. Once you see Riker have the beard, I think shit starts getting good. And I think once you see Sisko shave his head and get the beard, shit gets good. I mean, on Deep Space Nine, I think the first 2 seasons are more necessary for the overall arc because it establishes a lot of the Bajoran bullshit and the basis of the Cardassian-Bajoran problem that almost gets overlooked later but is informed throughout the entire series. Next Generation, it's more akin to, in those first couple of years, Gene Roddenberry was trying to make the show too much like the original show, and I think in the first year especially, and it didn't find its own identity until later on. So Next Generation, I would almost start with season 3 and ignore seasons 1 or 2. And then if you like it from that point forward, go back and watch season 1 and 2, because then you can have a little bit more leeway to the cheesier stuff because you appreciate it. Deep Space Nine is different. A different show altogether. I think you can watch it as a whole and enjoy it and see where it's going and see the lead up. But Next Generation, I will always say first-time watchers to start with season 3. It's a lot better. The show looks better. It's less. It looks more like the show it becomes, and is less cheesy in some ways. It still has its cheesy moments throughout, but I don't blame you, or doesn't surprise me that you haven't been able to get into it from those first couple of seasons. Misty, OTDA, great to see you. Misty, too broke for a Switch. Grad school is expensive. Yes, it fucking is. Strongly agree. 3 Houses is good. Addicted. Misty, good to see all of my folks in the live motherfucking chat. No, not you. Oh my goodness, I love it. Oh no, definitely not talking about you. And yes, I'm catching up with the chat. I'm going back in time now. Yes, analysis. I think that is one of the people I was referring to. Oh my god. Oh, it must have been another. Okay, back to normal, huh? Taking a dab. Yeah, when Sisko goes bald, it does get good. I'm on season 6. Okay, so you've made it past that point, Carmine, with Deep Space Nine. You're in the good stuff. I'd say 5, 6. When you get to an episode called In the Pale Moonlight, if that hasn't happened yet, that's one of my favorite episodes. It's a Sisko-centric and a Garak-centric episode. I think the character of Garak is one that every time he shows up is someone I very much love. Awesome. I actually can't wait to talk to you about Deep Space Nine when you're all said and done with it. Yeah, Star Trek does not have a good start. No, it has never had a good start. Finish is good. Now, if you're new to Star Trek Next Generation, start with Best of Both Worlds. That's an interesting thing to say, Merle. But you couldn't you? You could only watch Best of Both Worlds, and you'd almost know everything you need to know from a story arc standpoint for Next Generation, right? Because the Next Generation story arc as a whole is about the Q putting Picard and the humans through this discovery. Okay, so I want to get into Picard. I've been babbling about Star Trek. What am I doing? Flexing my Star Trek muscle to let you guys know I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Whatever. You guys got Star Trek questions about any era of Trek when I'm talking about this, when we're getting into this, throw it into the live motherfucking chat or throw it into the comment section, and I will try to touch upon it. I love talking about Star Trek, and I cannot get enough of it, good, bad, and the horrible that exists in the Star Trek medium. Because Trek, just like any other medium, any other franchise, has its shitty shits. Enterprise, I'm looking at you. And Discovery, first half of season 1, I'm looking at you too. And most of the JJ movies. So I can relate to some other franchises that have punishment. But I think Picard, what's happening right now from a television standpoint, it's kind of giving me what a lot of Star Trek fans wanted, for good or for bad. Forget all the themes or the ideas that come behind Picard. Forget the storyline. Just seeing what is happening in this future timeline is enough on some level for some Star Trek fans, because everything that's happened since Nemesis and since the end of Voyager has been prequel oriented. And I'm sorry, I'm never, ever, 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 well, except for Better Call Saul, but even in Better Call Saul, I'm never, ever really going to have the same intensity and connection to material in a prequel that I am in when it comes to the real thing. I think Better Call Saul is a cheat too, because it gives us both. It gives us the Cinnabon gene stuff that is in the future, and also gives us some flashes of the current of the Breaking Bad, and gives us the past. So it's more of a anthology series. It isn't, but it has elements of that within the Breaking Bad universe. Post Voyager, we have Enterprise that happened. Then we have those JJ shithouse cocksucking loser ass fucking movies. Then we have, and I know people are like, I like the JJ movies, but I like the JJ movies, Phil. Why are you being a dick cheese? I'm being a dick cheese because as much as those were interesting fan fiction attempts, they were really ultimately not what anybody wanted in Star Trek movies, except for people that didn't like Star Trek. I mean, and you can say, fine, good, give Star Trek to some people that don't like it, bring in a new audience. Fine, but I can still hate it. I can still shit on it because it's not what I like in my Star Trek. I can go to get a pizza that puts those big fucking tomatoes on it. You know what I'm saying? Like the pizza that, like a marguerite pizza that gives you tomatoes instead of tomato sauce, that gives you big chunks of shit all over your fucking pizza and big green things, and people could like that. I don't like that, but I still fucking like pizza. I don't fucking like 2.5 of the JJ movies, but, you know, they exist, and I'm not going to say they're not Star Trek. They're not what I want out of Star Trek. Discovery is decent at times, but it's still not what and that's another prequel. I mean, ultimately, again, all you get out of Trek since Nemesis is prequel shit. This is the first time we're in the future. And yes, it is the future of what happened in the JJ timeline, because that timeline got switched in a sense. This is was it Calvin? Is that what they're calling it? In the sense that a lot of what Picard deals with, and some part of what caused Picard to leave Starfleet, which is something we deal with right towards the beginning of the episode, we don't have to question about that. We can find out more details about it later, was that Picard helped evacuate Romulus. And within that, while he was doing that, he gave up his command of the Enterprise, E, and he went out to try to do this. And when he did this, something happened and caused Starfleet to cancel the mission, and Picard saved them anyways and then quit. And somehow within all of this, there's also something that's being raised with synthetics. Synthetics, people like, or creatures like Data, like Johnny Five is alive. There is some problem, some event that happens on Mars where the synthetics turn on the humans, and we have a Judgment Day-like situation happening. Totally a Judgment Day-like situation, but we don't know what happened. And they attacked and killed a bunch of people. If you want a little bit more backstory on this, you can watch the Short Trek episode, Children of Mars, which gives you a little bit of a inkling. So we're finally getting some future in this timeline. So even if it's not exactly perfect at times, I feel like maybe I have some blinders on right now because I'm finally getting what I've been desiring for a long time out of my Star Trek. Well, Phil, Borg do not care about humanity. They cared about the Romulans. We're going to get into that in a second at the end here. What about Star Wars? It was about the Federation showed up to answer the border question, and the Borg were like, we'll take that. It's interesting what happened with the Borg and the Romulans. We didn't get the full answer to that, or maybe I missed it. I'll have to watch that on a rewatch. When did the Borg get involved in this? Did Locutus call the Borg? because he has that connection to the Borg collective. When Starfleet betrayed them, was there some sort of connection he had with whatever's left of the Borg collective? Does it have something to do with Hugh? And is it that secondary Borg collective that we meet in Gambit Volume 2? Like, because we already know that Hugh is in this series. We've seen him in the previews. So is there some association to that? How's Jerry Ryan fit into this? That's what I think. I mean, obviously, we saw at the end of this episode, to jump ahead to the end here for a second, we see that the Romulans are still alive. You know, the Romulans have been saved, and they're on some starbase. And then we pan out on the starbase where we see the clone of, or the twin of the Data daughter. Yeah, we're going there. I'm going to recap this shit. And we get there to the point where we see them all in a Borg cube. Now, what stage of the Borg is this? I tend to think that this has some sort of connection to Picard and some connection to the Locutus thing and stuff to do with First Contact and the Borg Queen, and some sort of connection that's built up in a psychic connection between also Data and Picard and all that connection, because the Borg Queen also assimilated to a certain extent Data and maybe initiated some sort of bullshit in there. I don't know. There's a lot of bullshit going on. There's a lot of technobabble shit going on in Picard that we have to get to the bottom of. But I do think we can kind of space out where this season is going. So, the world post-Nemesis, post-Dominion War, Borg War, it makes sense that Starfleet might turn into something like this. The action is good. A little bit of shaky camera JJ stuff at times. But I thought for the most part it looked good, except for some super speed effects. But the texture of this compared to Discovery, it looks different and it looks better. We're excited right from the start to see this episode open up with Data and the Captain. I don't know if it's a spoonful of sugar to make the medicine go down and we're not going to see Data for the rest of the season, but I do like how the series opened up with Data. It opened up with the song that closed out Nemesis. Blue skies shining on me, nothing but blue skies, baby, did I see. It was the Borg took Romulans and the human colonies on the neutral zone, so the Borg liked Romulans, humans were a mistake. Oh, interesting. Okay, so you mean initially. Initially when the Borg were on the outskirts in the Next Generation time. Okay, I got confused with what you were saying. The Borg initially, when they were in the outskirts watching the Alpha Quadrant per se, they had more interest in the Romulans than they did in the Federation at the time. They didn't really get interested in the Federation until Q got into that matter and sort of made them more aware of them. Okay, I'm understanding more what you're saying. To any Next Generation fans and Picard fans in general, do we think we're going to see Q at the end of all of this? I wouldn't mind that being a conclusion to the whole storyline as well, where Q comes in and sends Picard to the Q continuum. It lives! Howdy, Miss Empress. Great to see you. And yes, I do live. I breathe. I podcast. It's happening right now. I might not be as sharp as I usually... who am I kidding? I'm never sharp. I might not be as nervous as I always... No, I'm not even nervous. I'm just excited to be talking about this fucking shit. And I'm excited to be talking about this. I'm excited. Wait, I got some message. Liked, it's fucking awesome. Yes, it's fucking awesome. I know some of you guys out there that have no clue or have never watched Star Trek are going to listen to some of this random technobabble bullshit or some of this random referential crap that I'm going to be mentioning and it'll be like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't care. Can't you talk about something I like? Can't you talk about something I hate? What's your opinions on this most recent season of The Walking Dead? Why aren't you talking about Vikings? Shut the fuck up, Phil. Westworld's coming. And I will talk about the shows. I will talk about more shows. I will have reference to other things. But yes, in these Picard reviews, you are going to see the Star Trek come out of me. You are going to see me go, oh my god, the episode started out with these two. Captain, I don't want the game to end. I don't want the game to end either. Mwah! Oh my goodness. Hey, Nick. I'm going to give Nick a huge shout out. Fucking Nick! Welcome to the motherfucking chat. Yes, that's what I meant. Sorry to say, but Star Trek is dead to me. Oh, you don't have to apologize to me. I mean, or sorry to say, Phil. I can't, and you know me, I'm not going to be here. Merle! Come on, Merle! You gotta like this. You gotta jump on board with me. Don't be in the chat if you're gonna hate. No, I don't care. I mean, I'm not going to try to argue with you to tell you, oh, yeah, come back. Come on back. The water of this Picard is warm. You're going to like it. You know, I understand. I mean, post-Nemesis, post post all of that, Star Trek was dead. And it could remain that way for a lot of people. They killed that universe. Berman overexposed the universe and killed it. Let's be true here. I mean, I don't want to get too negative in the sense of talking about how Star Trek fucked itself, but yeah, this is the recovery tour that's happening right now. Star Trek fucked themselves. They dug a big fucking hole that may never be able to recover because they pissed off a lot of the people that held true to that franchise for a long, long time. Star Trek was a big bastion for a lot of the foundation of this fandom culture that we live in now. And Star Trek really fucked themselves over by, after Next Generation, immediately doing Deep Space Nine, and then Voyager. Those three were good. They should have lived by themselves. Then they went to Enterprise and that switch, and Enterprise was the start of the fall. And then in the movies, the Next Generation movies, a few of them are good, but for the most part, it kind of not destroys the franchise, but puts the franchise into a little box that was forced to kind of end with Nemesis. And instead of opening up that world to the Deep Space Nine world, to the Voyager world, making it a more wide world, and then even when Nemesis ended, to go into the future, maybe have some cameos, like do a show like this way back then, and not necessarily focused around Picard, but having those characters make appearances as you follow the next Enterprise. You know, I mean, that's what people, essentially Star Trek fans, or at least I'm speaking in a very bold generality, kind of wanted. They wanted future. They wanted to see Riker in the Titan series. They wanted to see the Sulu Excelsior series. Whatever. They wanted to see those things, or the Worf series that never matriculated. All those things kind of failed. Then when they finally came back, you get the fucking JJ movies, which are complete reskins or Star Wars movies with Star Trek skins. However you want to view those things. And for good or for bad, I think they have good moments, but they're not what that giant fandom loved about Star Trek. And people are like, you're bitching, but I don't care. I'm fucking bitching about it. And then you come Discovery shows the fuck up, and oh my fucking God, what a pile of shit that can be at times. And I can find interesting and entertaining things in Discovery. I like Pike. I like Orca from season 1, or was that his name? The captain from season 1. I like some of the Mirror Universe stuff that they've done on Discovery. I think it's it's a good version of the Mirror Universe. But for the most part, Discovery was pissing on the grave of Star Trek in some ways. Then the Orville comes out, and some people are like, oh, thank God. This actually means someone that knows Star Trek. So Picard rolls around, and some of these short treks roll around that kind of are, in some ways, I think, circling around that Star Trek feel again. I can't blame someone like Merle. And I can't blame someone like Merle for saying, I'm fucking done with it. You know? Killmonger, Star Wars, great in Star Trek. Do you think the Force will be in the new one? I do think the Force will show up in Star Wars. Hey man, go Star Trek, can I get shot? I love you, but Star Trek reached its peak with the end of the war in Deep Space Nine. I appreciate the movies, same with Voyager and Enterprise, but I accepted the movies in Enterprise. You don't have to apologize to me. I agree with every fucking word you said right there. You can ask most people. I think I'm not a Voyager fan. I think Voyager has some decent episodes. I think Year of Hell is an interesting arc. I think Enterprise is shit on a stick for the first couple of seasons. I think the second half of it has some interesting moments, but then they shit on themselves with that Riker ending to Voyager. And I think most of the Next Generation movies are crap. I like First Contact is the only one I think is a good movie from beginning to end. So I'm kind of right with you there. I'm just maybe drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit more now and jumping into it. But and I don't want to spend this as a whole conversation I'm having with Merle Davis, but I kind of agree with you, Merle. I think the peak of Star Trek, of that generation of all of Star Trek, was the end of Deep Space Nine. I think everything after that, for me, falls a little short. I think Voyager is wasted opportunities because I think you could have done something really interesting with the Maquis and the Starfleet officers on the bridge of Voyager. I think the first 2 seasons of Voyager could have been a battle. I think if you made Janeway not the captain at first, and make the captain die somewhere in those first 2 seasons, and Janeway has to take over, but the senior command is actually a Maquis officer, and then having some sort of transition going on. I think if you made Chakotay actually an interesting character, not a pile of shit. I don't know. And I'm in Boston right now, Nick. Fucking Boston, dude. So I do feel like this show, Back to Picard, made the JJ films better. I feel like this is the actual world of Star Trek for the first time since Deep Space Nine and Voyager. I feel like I'm actually in that world again. The world becomes something like what Section 31 would, Deep Space Nine Section 31 would have handled, and how they would have handled this Romulan situation, and with the Romulan planet blowing up. Left the Enterprise to rescue the Romulans. Picard mentions Dunkirk in here as well. I guess he liked the movie. He speaks French. We get Jean-Luc Picard speaking French for the very first time. And the card game with Picard and Data is horribly emotional right from the beginning from the series. It grabs you by your feeling balls right from the beginning and squeezes them. I also wanted to mention we also have a voicemail and text line if you ever want to call in. 781-990-8509. Against that 781-990-8509. Whenever you're watching this, if you have any thoughts of Picard, I will answer the questions the following week if you do it when the show's not going on. If not, I will try to get to the voicemails and the text during the show. So if I ever don't get something your question or any comment and I'm not getting to it, jump on in the live motherfucking chat, check it out, check the phone number out in 781-990-8509 and leave a voicemail or a text. So it makes sense why we got Data and we get an interviewer. Did you ever lose faith in Data? Never. What did you lose faith in? I lost faith in Starfleet. She talks about that. Intense Picard. I'm sorry, I'm reading my half-written notes. We get a ban on synthetics. Okay, so that's kind of my initial thoughts on Picard. I could randomly talk on some whole fucking circles, but I want to get into the recap here and talk about this series because I am in a relatively quick, not in a hurry, but in a little bit of a time situation today. So let me get into this right now. Recap! I will assimilate you. I will save you, Captain! Slam! Do you know what's funny is I always use that song for the recap song, but it's a Star Trek song. So for the first time, it actually makes sense. Usually I'm on a hiatus right now, Nick, or I've been on a hiatus for the last month or so. So I haven't been doing many often. In fact, this is the first one I've done in a long time. But usually when things are going normal, at least once a week, maybe even a couple times a week, depending on the shows that are airing at the moment. So, realistically speaking, from this point moving forward, once or twice a week, perhaps more, depending on how busy things get in my normal bullshit life. So this is the recap of this episode of Picard. Picard opens up, and I have to thank EW for stealing their recap because I wanted to watch the show on my own today without taking notes. So if some of this doesn't make sense, don't blame me. Blame me for being lazy and not wanting to do my own work here. So where is the music here? As I am doing this for the first time in a while, I am a little distracted. So if things are taking me a little longer than usual, I apologize as I'm getting some music to play while I do this recap. Play music! Thank you, damn you. Thank you. Where do you post when you do the live shows? Usually I will create it as a YouTube live event, but if you also follow me on Twitter at IGotIssuesMan, I'll try to post that there as well. But you can usually look for me on Sunday evenings at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and then probably one day during the week as well. I'm sort of transitioning off break, so it's tough for me to answer that question honestly. But I will try to post things on Twitter and post more when I'm going to be live. But I also try to create the event a day or two beforehand, just so it exists. But YouTube's changing, and I can't do these events for much longer. People that are creators know what I'm talking about. they're changing the whole system, and it's all fucked up now. So things might get a little different. I might not be able to pre-create events. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Phil the Issues Guy, you can follow me on Instagram. I believe it's also I Got Issues Man, and I'll try to post places like that when I'm going to be going live, at least a day ahead of time, to kind of give you guys a heads up, as it's tougher these days to let people know. But if you subscribe to the channel, it should theoretically give you a notification when we go live. So Picard opens up. The episode of Remembrance opens to the sound of Blue Skies. A wonderful view of the sky, getting back right where we left, the song that Picard's beloved synthetic Data sang at Riker and Deanna's funeral. Or funeral, yeah, sort of. Their wedding in Nemesis. And also, as we heard it as the film closes, that Data dies. That should be good enough as well. Yeah, if you subscribe, YouTube should let you know. But, make sure you also ring that bell. Click on the bell on my page as well so you're notified. Okay, so at the close of the film, Data had sacrificed him to save Picard and the Enterprise and the crew, and seemingly downloaded his consciousness into an android double named B4. You guys got that? The tune sets the mournful tone of the scene of Data and Picard playing the game of cards, in which Picard deduces that Data has a tell, namely that he's playing straight when he tries to fake a tell. Now, and that he's bluffing and his eyes rolled neutral. It's a great conversation between the two of them. You can just tell it's two actors that love each other and that are interacting in a very high level of actor communication interaction. And I love it. I love seeing Data here again, hearing that voice, seeing Brent Spiner move in that. I know the digital effect is a little different than Data normally looks, but this is a Picard dream, so it can be accepted that Data would look a little bit different in Picard's memory, especially with the hints of the Aromatic syndrome that Picard definitely has somewhere inside of him, since there was no cures. So right from the game of poker, it establishes Picard's back, and he's faking but not faking. It's amazing to see Data back and the captain having an interaction. The whole show could just be this. It could just be Data and them interacting. How could they clone a robot? It's not a normal robot. It's an android, which has some synthetic elements as well, as we've learned, positronic, and also maybe some nanotechnology that was able to be used. I'm not going to question the technobabble bullshit about Star Trek, because Star Trek's always been about technobabble bullshit, but that's a good question, Sanchez. Like, we get into it later that somehow, and that's not exactly said, that Maddox has figured out a way to clone Data, because they do say when they get to the Institute, I forget what the Institute is called, or it's Marstrom or something like that, they talk about how the way Data's positronic net was set up, and what Maddox is speculating, that if even one little element of Data's, one little thing, part of Data was able to be survived, that he could clone a Data. He could create Data again. And they do mention that when she talks about how B4 was, Data tries to download his consciousness onto B4, almost all of it was lost. So not all of it was lost. So it could be established within the rules that they've set up in this fucking universe that Maddox could have taken an element of B4 that is the most tangible Data that he could find and created a clone of Data, or created positronic neural net through that, which turns into our doll, or whatever her name is, twins. So I know I'm explaining technobabble with bullshit. Like, you're calling logic to me, and I'm explaining it with technobabble, so I'm with you, okay? With one cell? He died in space. What the fuck happened to him? I'm glad that Picard at least mentioned that, right? Like, Picard says that. Well, all of him died in space. But in that same scene, she mentions how Data transmitted his consciousness into B4, and almost all of it was lost, but some of it remained. So theoretically, what I'm saying is that perhaps there is some nanotechnology involved with Data established himself to some extent, and something that he transmitted into B4 is the essence of Data. And that was what Maddox was able to use to clone the Data and create these twin daughters. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But I think that's the show's explanation for it. I don't know if I'm grabbing it right, but I believe that's what the show is trying to tell us. within this episode. But I like that Picard at least said that, what you just said. Well, Data blew up in space. All of his cells were lost. Or is he saying that Maddox got it from the painting? That somehow one of Data's cells got lodged into one of his pieces of art. And that's what he got it from. Is that what the whole thing with the painting was about? That Maddox found one of Data's paintings and somehow analyzed it and found one speck of piece of Data's skin that fell on the painting? So just the part that makes the child a superhero was saved. Perhaps. I'm hoping we're going to get answers to some of these questions as we go. In the first episode, things being raised in a show that hasn't existed before, I have to give the show the benefit of the doubt that it's going to explain the things that don't make sense. And especially with Star Trek, where they can explain it with technobabble stuff, if you can just make it make sense in my own mind, with the way Geordi's, oh, we just need to get a Dyson sphere to surround this fucking thing, right? You've heard Dyson sphere, right? I'm thinking now that I'm going on, it's the painting. Now that I'm thinking about this more, because that was the whole thing with the painting. But we'll have to see. Okay, so right from the go, this game of Pokemon. This game of the Pokemon. So Picard pours them both tea, and Data asks why the captain is stalling. Because I don't want the game to end. You had that line in the trailer, but in the moment, in the sense of hearing Picard, hearing his voice, the way Patrick Stewart plays that old and helpless feel and everything you saw in Logan, I don't know, in that one moment when he says, I don't want the game to end, I got a little emotional. There's just so much pain about life and loss there. Now, Picard bets everything he has on the current hand. Data wins with the possible collection of 5 queens. That could be a reference to the Borg Queen. It confuses Picard, and then we get the look out of the starship window at Mars. Everything starts shaking. Data disappears. An explosion rocks him out the rear and then causes him to wake up in his bedroom at the French vineyard in Chateau Picard. And his trusty dog, the new star of the show. I mean, really, I don't care about any other character, but the new number 1, Picard's little pit bull there. It's fucking cute. I'm trying, but this is just a little upsetting. No, and that's understandable. Again, I'm not somebody that's ever going to tell you to like something or tell you to accept something or tell you to eat shit if you can't digest, right? I was able to swallow everything that was fed to me in this episode. We'll have Joe Dirty Locks on here next week, and maybe he will be the person that's asking a lot of those questions on this podcast. It's like, what the fuck? This did not satisfy my needs. But please, if you have any problems with the shit that happens in Picard, never hesitate to write it in the comment section or in the live motherfucking chat. I'm never going to be like, fuck you. You're stupid. Well, I might say that, but I don't mean it in a mean way, you know? I mean it in a polite, loving way of I want to see what you see. And I want you to see what I see, and maybe it can resign both of us. Maybe I can ask more questions. Like, yeah, that doesn't make sense, because there are some elements that don't make sense of the Data clone Maddox thing. But I like that it is Maddox, right? And I like that it is someone that's seen Data before. So there's a lot of explanations where he could have got part of Data. In that whole period where he kind of owned Data for 5 minutes in Measure of a Man, he could have taken a part of Data then and had some part of him stored away forever waiting for opportunity like this. Or it could be through the Nemesis explosion or through B4, or it could be through the painting. I think the show has given themselves enough outs that if they want to take one of those paths, they could possibly try to make more sense of it. I think the Maddox somehow getting a piece of Data or asking Data in one of their letters that they sent back and forth for a part of him to do some research on could be plausible. We do know that Data mentioned several times through Next Generation that he was talking to Maddox and had developed a relationship with him. So it's not beyond the concept of reasonable thought that maybe Maddox asked Data for a piece of him or a piece of a working positronic matrix cell of some sort to study, since he can't study himself. And Data was also able in a certain episode to recreate it himself, even when he made his first daughter, even though it was unstable. It's not, all I'm saying is it's not completely unplausible in a Star Trek universe that he could have had some relationship with Maddox to give him part of him. So I accept that in the way they established it in the show, it seems a little bullshitty. Like, oh, what did he capture? Part of, like, my first explanation that something went through before or something got scabbed off the painting. But I guess if they want to, there are ways of explaining this. Did I bullshit that good enough? Did I bullshit your bullshit with some bullshit? True. Okay, that's not good. I'll take that. I'm not complete. Oh, hello, Killmonger the Rebel. Thank you for popping on in and saying hi. As I know Star Trek's not for everybody, I appreciate everyone popping on in to say hello. So what an intro, obviously Borg related, as we get our actual intro. The Star Trek intro, which is the least Star Trek intro we've ever seen. It just shows life going through with an eye. We also see a Borg cube in there as well. So then we cross over to my town, Greater Boston. A young woman named what was her name? Is having a romantic drink in an apartment with her alien boyfriend. After, a few seconds, she announced that she's been accepted into the Daystrom Institute. That is in Okinawa. And as a fellow artificial intelligence and quantum consciousness, the two are rudely visited by a bunch of assassins who immediately kill her boyfriend, put a hood over her head, and says she hasn't activated yet. But unfortunately, then she starts to activate, and she goes all killing machine and destroys them with ease, freaking out that she has these abilities. But in the midst of all of that, she has a vision of Picard from the trailer. Now, back at Chateau Picard, Picard is told by his Romulan staffers, which I think is very interesting that he has Romulans in his company because he saved them, and the Romulans view him as a hero of sorts, that he was muttering in his sleeps. And here's another one of those emotional moments. The dreams are lovely. It's waking up that's beginning to resent. And as life gets older and you get more difficult, or you go through difficult struggles, it's so true in a certain sense. You know, the dreams, what's in your mind, what's in your waking life becomes the shit you resent. And fuck all, man. This is the stuff I care about on this show. I care about the sci-fi, the storyline stuff, but it's really the Picard investigating the humanity shit that is the connection to Next Generation that I love the most. Bloody Talker, this is the first one I've done in a month, so you haven't really missed shit yet. Of course she does. Come on. Of course she does. Don't be ridiculous. So waking up is what Remembrance is all about. It's about the process to continue when the TV crew arrives. Then we get the TV crew arriving to jump in Picard. Okay. In fairness, pretty Rick Sanchez, is she the one that's having that psychic vision? Is she projecting that because Data or what's his name, Maddox, has programmed that in her mind, that if she's in trouble to seek out Jean-Luc because he is the one that has the best relationship with Data and would protect her? I don't know if it's him having that psychic connection. If it is him, there's some Borg connection there, that somehow Maddox has used Borg technology to make this happen, because Picard does have a psychic connection with the Borg. That has been established on both the show and in the movies. He does have some sort of, it's not psychic, it's a technical radar science shit connection with the Borg consciousness, that as long as the Borg exist, there is some connection between him and them. So back at Chateau Picard, he's told by his Romulan staffers that he mutters in sleep. He's beginning to resent that. Now, it's all about Remembrance. The TV crew arrives. I like this element of it. It gives us a little bit more of a feel of what this world is like now. The TV crew comes in and they give him his the first interview he's given post his retirement. But when she gets to him, she says he feels it too. You're right about the Borg, though. So maybe there is some connection to the Borg. I'm going to hold on to that, because it wouldn't really make sense that he'd have a psychic connection with an android. I don't know. That wouldn't make sense. I was reaching there. I was hoping. But you're right. She did say it goes both ways, and he felt it was both ways as well. So it's the first interview he's given. He doesn't want to talk about his departure from Starfleet. The Romulans tell him to be the captain they remember and not bring up the negative shit. Now, the topic of conversation is a supernova that destroyed Romulus in the event that referenced in the J.J. Abrams 2009 Star Trek reboot. Even though the Romulans were Starfleet's sworn enemies, we know that through certain points that they were starting to establish some sort of connection with them. Not sworn enemies. I'm going to argue with the person that wrote this article. They were their biggest rival, but through the Dominion War and then through Picard helping the Romulans out of a couple of messes through the end of Next Generation as well. They got talked about how they wanted to maybe establish some sort of future relationship. And so this isn't completely out of nowhere where Picard's just like, I hate the Romulans, I'm going to help them. Picard felt a profound responsibility to help 900 million survivors to the world outside the supernova's blast, something that the antagonist reporter says was a logistical feat more ambitious than the pyramids. Even the historian Picard corrects her by saying it was more like Dunkirk. Now she acts like she knows what he's talking about, but she obviously doesn't. And defends his actions, making it clear that he was saving refugees' lives. Their chat veers towards the calamity which the group of rogue synthetics hacked Mars' defense net, wiped out the rescue armada, and destroyed the shipyards, resulting in explosions that have left Mars uninhabitable to this day. As a result, synthetics were banned throughout the galaxy. Picard confesses that he does not know why the synthetics acted as they did, but he states that he never lost faith in his crewmate Data. Moreover, he admits that he left Starfleet because of organizational decision to call him off the Romulan rescue efforts, and it was downright criminal. And then he eventually storms off the set. So, hey, Bliss, great to see you. Great to see you, Dab. Oh, Dab. Great to see you, Killmonger. It's about that time for me as well. Now, Dal sees Picard in the TV, recognizes him from her visions, visits him at the Chateau Picard. She goes to drunk Picard, who Patrick Stewart plays drunk so well. He's like, I'm drunk. What the fuck? This isn't no Synthahol here. Now, she says, these officers killed my boyfriend and me, and they tried to kill me, but I killed them all. Something inside of me makes me know what to do. She explains that her knowledge of him comes from someplace deep within, and that power that overtook her was like lightning seeking the ground, and I killed it. The same sort of inherent instinct that led her to Picard Vineyard, and she knows she's safe with him. Now, over some Earl Grey tea hot, she shows him a necklace of the two intertwined circles, which she says received from her father. She knows he's a great man, a deeper, older, but not from TV because he's a celebrity. She knows him. Okay, so she asks, I believe you, and we see a puppy face, and it's very cute. Anyways, so at night, Picard dreams of Data painting in the vineyard. He offers Picard the brush and asks him if he'd like to finish it. When he awakens, Picard realizes the painting of a faceless woman standing on the edge of the Rockies, it was actually her. It was the girl that he just met. Now, but he has to see it again to make sure. He informs that Dal is gone, and he races to Starfleet archives to try to see if this is the same girl. Now, she has disappeared off the vineyard. So he races to Starfleet archives, and we get a fun scene with a robot helper, a similar to the Doctor from Voyager, a holographic helper. That's kind of funny, and Picard has a funny interaction with them. When they're in this hall, this seems to be all Picard's items and stuff from his time as a Starfleet captain. We see the Captain Picard banner. We see some models, shuttlecrafts, and we see the painting painted by Data in 2369. That's the same, but the woman's face. That's a painting similar to the prior one, except the woman's face is clearly visible, unlike the last one we saw, and it is Dal. The title of the painting is Daughter, and he wants to make sure no one else has ever been there, and that the girl is his daughter. So, blah, 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 blah. I kind of babbled that a little bit. He discovers that Data painted a picture of this girl once upon a time. And is it his daughter? ? So, in the rainy streets of Paris, we see Dal again. She phones her mother, who knows that she already visited Picard somehow, and tells her to return to him, that he is the safety net. Now, Dal hacks the security systems to locate his whereabouts at Starfleet archives and goes and meets him there. He tells her of Data in the painting and suggests that she has a lovely memory of her childhood and family. She's actually a synthetic, related somehow to Data, therefore making her dear to him in more ways than she could ever understand. Data is an amazing artist and the painting saves my life. Oh, sorry, I'm reading my notes wrong. I will never leave you, he says, and you should go to the Daystrom Institute and investigate this further. Positronic bells, but before they can depart, more assassins show up, and a fight happens. On the rooftop, Dal fends them off after saving Picard, but Picard takes cover, and at this moment in her triumph, she defeats them all. Someone throws acid on her, causing her to explode and knock out Picard. When Picard awakes, he's back at the chateau, having spent years nursing his wounds and his dignity, writing books about history that no one wants to remember, and hiding out, waiting to die. Picard is now galvanized, and he's ready to uncover the truth and avenge Daal's death. So he travels to the Daystrom Institute, where he questions a synthetic expert named Dr. Angus, was her name? About the possibilities of the synthetics' sentience and out of flesh. And she laughs at him, says humanity was unable to create them after the ban, how amazing it was, even more what Dr. Sung was able to do through through at a much earlier date. They still have not been able to even come close to doing what they did. She also gives us a little history lesson about what happened with B4, that B4 did get Data's download, but B4 was a pale comparison and could never quite ascertain the information that Data downloaded onto him. And in fact, most of it was lost. And that all subsequent synthetics were, as I tried to say that word, I can't say that word, were banned and were never as good as Data. And actually, that the synthetics that attacked Mars came from the room that they were in. She tells Picard that her mentor, Maddox, any new synthetics would have been made from the neurons of Data. This is what I don't get. So if there are any synthetics made, they have to be made from the neurons of Data. So every synthetic that exists in this world is related to Data in some ways. Is that correct? Someone correct me in the live chat or in the comment section. Now, she also says that Daal's necklace is a symbol for fractal neuronic cloning. A Maddox theory which posted that Data's entire code could be reconstituted from just one of his positronic neurons. So, okay. So I think this is setting up the fact that he was able to rescue one of Data's positronic neurons from before and create it again. Or what I was hoping for before, that somehow Data mailed him one of his neurons or something. At some point in their years of talking before the events of Nemesis. Now, Picard tells the Doctor that Maddox must have created Daal in some way. In this way, modeling the girl after one of Data's old paintings. And some of Data wasn't before. Maybe it could have been saved. You know, who knows? As we said, I hope they explain this in a reasonable way that makes sense and isn't just like, yeah, we collected it from some space dust. That's what we did. You know what I did? I flew up there in the ship and I collected all the space dust that floated around the Nemesis scene, and I was able to create a replication of that. Yeah. That's what they said, but it doesn't make sense. I agree it doesn't make sense. I'm hoping it makes sense eventually. I haven't seen this yet, still trying to decide if I want to make the effort. Okay, I would say it's definitely worth the effort to steal it. I'm not a big fan of the CBS All Access structure. I'm not a big fan of all this new structure that's creating the cable companies fighting back here. You know, remember 10 years ago when we were all like, we got to cut a cord, we got to stop paying millions of dollars from cable and start streaming shit. And things were cheaper because it was all relatively in like one spot. You could get everything from basically like, you know, Hulu and Netflix, and then that was it. And Amazon came free with Prime, so you're fine. Now every single channel has a streaming thing. HBO, Starz, Showtime, NBC, ABC, Disney. They all have another streaming service, and if they don't, they're coming out with one soon, and they're gonna have programming that's individualistically on there that you can't watch unless you purchase that thing. So you're fucked now, and it's going to end up costing more than your cable bill did 10 years ago if you want to watch everything. So I say steal Picard. You can do it. It's easy. And the quality versions will be out there because people are stealing it, not from like when someone goes in a movie theater and shoots it on a camera. People aren't doing that. They're actually downloading this and reposting it. So if you go to any of those TV link sites that, yes, I'm encouraging to use, whether it be I don't even know what they're called anymore. I don't want to say any of those site names. But you know what they are. If you know what I'm talking about, you know how to do it. Go get it. Exactly. What did they do? They flew up there. Maddox flew up there. And he's like, zip, I'm going to catch all this space dust and get one of Data's neurons. But yes, I think it's fun. And if you care about the characters and want to follow this, I would say it's a fun watch. I don't think anything's worth paying for CBS All Access because I think it sends the wrong message. Yeah, torrents have a great copy of it already. You absolutely do not need to buy CBS All Access to watch this. It's just like with the Orville. I'm not gonna buy Hulu, but I'm gonna watch every fucking episode. You bet you sweet bippy I am. Anyways, not encouraging such behavior, but telling you fucking do it. Fucking don't pay for CBS fucking All Access. Don't be that guy. I mean, I do it, but I'll be that for everybody. I do it because I want to watch it as soon as possible to come out here and do this crap. It's worth watching, definitely, but you're right, no need to buy. It is worth watching, even if you have some problems with it. It's a well-put-together television program, and Patrick Stewart isn't doing crap. And that my speculation about this series, would Patrick Stewart do a crappy show? No, he wouldn't. It's good quality. It has questions that needs to be answered, but again, I wouldn't pay for CBS All Access. I agree with almost everything, if not everything you've been saying in this live motherfucking chat. Pretty Rick Sanchez. Your opinions are so pretty. You're so pretty. I'm so pretty. Okay, so following this bombshell, we're transported to a Romulan center, floating in space. Out of the mist, we see a Romulan named Narek, I believe is his name, appears and greets a woman named Dr. Asher. Sorry, I'm thinking about Archer, and I'm wondering if Picard's going to be taking his dog on missions. Anyways, okay. So who's clearly the twin of Dal. He praises her work, and admires her interwinding circle necklace. Upon hearing that she has a twin sister, he confesses that he was also close to his own brother, but lost him last year in an unexpected smelting accident. No, an unexpected manner. And the two hit it off. As the camera pulls back, we get an idea of the huge scale of this Romulan site. And as we pull out, oh my god, I'm gross. We get another dick slap. We get this reveal. Dun, 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 dun. Resistance is futile. Dun, dun, you are on a Borg ship. I will break you, Rocky. So we get Ivan Drago, the Borg, and we are established that the Romulans are now living on a Borg base, or a Borg ship. Are there Borg there? Is Hugh running this ship? Is there a new Borg queen? Have the Borg stepped in, and because of their interest in the Romulans, as Pretty Rick Sanchez has mentioned earlier, is there some sort of association where they came to put they have some sort of, I don't know, some savior of the Romulan people? Or are they trying to, what do the Borg do? The Borg, are they trying to take them over? What are they trying to assimilate them? Are the Borg assimilating to the Romulans? I mean, like, what's going on here on this fucking Borg cube? But we pull out, we see this. How's it going, Jay? Great to see you, buddy. Jay gave me a great gift that I haven't used yet. Jay, thank you so much for that message you sent me in Twitter, for that ability to use something you have. I haven't signed in yet or tried to use it yet, but I am going to at some point. And I thank you much for that wonderful gift. And I also want to say a couple of happy holidays to a couple people that left comments since the last time I podcasted. Someone said, "Hey Phil, happy holidays to you and Joe." Area code 808. Thank you, 808. I appreciate that. Sorry I haven't been online for a long while. Smelting in the 23rd century. Are we in the 24th century yet? Okay, so a couple quick thoughts here at the end before I close this off and call this a stream. Picard may be motivated to resume his old ways, but in huffing and puffing, he's definitely not in good shape anymore. They're showing the passage of age. Maddox is a character from Next Generation episode Measure of a Man. It's Maddox that argued Data was a synthetic life form, although the two found common ground in the subject by the story's end. The Romulan and the Borg had little contact through the show's history of Star Trek, so the revelation that the former have somehow taken control of the Borg vessel suggests that a new villainous partnership with Picard will have to contend. Number one is the name for Riker that he named his dog. Well, the dog was named Indiana. So that's our first episode of Picard. In general, I fucking love it. It has some questions that got popped up that need to be answered, and some silliness that popped up here and there that Pretty Rick Sanchez has pointed out, and a couple other people pointed out along the way. Yes, of course it does, but that's part of Star Trek. Part of Star Trek is creating these weird, random, technobabble questions that need to be answered later. Unlike an episode of Next Generation, or even an episode of Deep Space Nine, which still managed to continue the beginning, middle, and end of an episode for the most part, except for a little bit in some of those multiple episode arcs. Fortunately, we're still in the very first moment of this. We're in a new era of television where seasons are viewed as a whole rather than individual episodes. Yes, I am going to be looking at each episode of Picard week to week, time permitting. If shit comes up, shit comes up. But I am going to be looking at each episode week to week and studying what happens in the episode. But I think, unlike the era of television which Jean-Luc Picard, which Patrick Stewart left before, the era we live in now is more like a book where each episode is a chapter for an overall story. Where before, it was an era of, especially Next Generation, everything was solved in an hour. 2 hours at the most. I think there's one 3-part episode in Next Generation. Is that the Chain of Command episode? Is that a 3-part episode? But I even that I might be making up. And there might only be 2-parters on Next Generation. There could be one 3-parter. Someone correct me on that information. But for the most part, it was all self-contained stories. Picard is a story that we only have seen the first chapter. And there's going to be, 10 chapters or is it 8 chapters? I don't fucking know how many chapters are in this season. Knowing CBS All Access in the era of television right now, we're going to have fucking 8 episodes, maybe even 6. But who knows? I'm going to say 10 until I'm told differently, right? We're going to get 10 episodes, and hopefully these questions that are being established in this first episode will be answered in reasonable ways as we move forward. Things like how they really did clone Data. Is this really a clone of Data, or is there other synthetic means, and Jean-Luc is wrong, and the information is wrong, and this is lore's out there somehow? I don't know. Somehow this was taken from B4 and Maddox was able to increase technology. Is there some relative of Dr. Sung out there that had his technology passed on through time? I mean, there's a lot of questions that possibly have answers that I want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. No, I'm excited to be out here. Pretty Rick, thank you so much. If the Borg got Romulans, they'd be pretty badass. So will Q be in this? 6 40 minutes episodes. They want us to pick. There's only 6? There's only 6? Fuck my balls in a hair basket, in a hair dryer. Fuck it. 6 fucking episodes. Eat a fucking pile of shit. They better be 10 episodes in season 2. 6 better been because it's like proof of concept. They're going to wrap this story up in 6 fucking episodes? Fuck you. Fuck you. He's definitely going to be in this one, Jay. Spoiler alert, Riker is in this episode. Or not in this episode, in this season. He showed up in the, and I know you hate that spoilers, but I'm not going to tell you how he shows up or what he shows up. But yes, Riker, the people that have been confirmed to be in this series so far is oh, okay, good. Good, Rick. Thank you. You pissed me off. But you didn't piss me off. That pissed me off. Riker and Troy and Data have all been disclosed in the previews for the season. So we do know that they show up at some point in time. So yes, Jonathan Frakes will be making an appearance. More than one, I don't know about. The Next Generation actors might all be one and you're done. So I'm very excited. It's great to actually talk about Star Trek. I usually take a Game of Thrones podcast and I'll make a Star Trek reference or something. It's good to go the other way around, and good to be out here and be able to talk about this show and talk about this universe, because I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I have a lot of useless information about it that needs to be corrected, that needs to be associated with other things, and needs to realize where I'm right, where I'm wrong, what memories I have that are true. So I think this is really a lot of fun to be able to talk about this. The third best captain. That's an argument for a different day. So if you haven't already and you enjoyed this podcast, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Share this with a friend. Help more people find the channel. I've been away for a while, so it's going to be even tougher to find people to come on in here and share our excitement. So if you know someone that might enjoy my brand of bullshit, direct them to my channel. Send them my way. Help us keep going and let's start this again. Let's start this push uphill again in this interesting dynamic of the podcasting and streaming world and the Star Trek world that we're in. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about this show this year. It's going to be a lot of fun talking about a lot of shows this year. Coming up on the channel for other shows that will be discussed very soon will be will be Westworld's coming back very soon. Also, we've got the new season of Better Call Saul coming in February. And new season of Ozarks coming very soon as well. So a lot of discussions, a lot of silliness, a lot of fun coming up on this channel. So if you haven't already and you enjoy this stuff, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. You think the female security office or that died comes back, or a clone or a daughter? Oh, Jay, you watched it. Ooh. Clones. They do clones. But if you haven't and you liked it, please hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Do all that stuff. I'll be back next week to talk about more Picard. I don't know when I'll be back. Perhaps, what are these coming out on Thursday evenings at midnight? So I'll probably be back Wednesday evenings at midnight. I'll probably be back next Thursday at some point, whether it be in the evening or the afternoon when I get off work, depending on when Joe Dirty Locks has time off. Because I want to get Joe on here next week to talk about this show because he's watching it. He's watching it live right now as we're talking about. Oh, yes, and the new season of Orville that's filming right now. I'll also be talking about that. And we'll be talking about Discovery as well when that comes back. I will talk about the new Game of Thrones series as we get more information about that. I will be mentioning The Walking Dead. This newest season of Vikings that I haven't watched even a second of that I need to catch up on. But make sure you check out King McKay for all your best Vikings coverage. If you're a fan of my channel and you are craving some amazing Vikings coverage, there's only one person to turn to. That's King McKay. He is the best Vikings person out there right now covering it. So make sure you check that out. Love you guys. Oh, and I forgot to mention one last thing I'll be talking about that comes out very soon, the final season of Bojack Horseman. Yes! It's one of my favorite shows of all time. That's right, I'll say it. One of my favorite shows of all time. And Bojack Horseman's coming at first conclusion. Will it stick my landing? Will it stick it for me? And also, wish me breaking a leg this weekend on my final weekend of my play. And then I'm yours again from a creative standpoint. I missed you. And hello to any of my castmates that might be checking this out. Hi, Kevin. Love you guys. Talk to you next time. Boo, I have not checked out the new season of Vikings either. I haven't either. It's almost like one of those things I want to just kind of rewatch the whole thing when it's all said and done. And I know it's going to be a back half of the season as well. I hear decent things. I hear it's better than the previous seasons. I'm definitely interested in it and definitely interested to see how this Vikings concludes and how they lead into the new prequel series or the new spin-off series that happens on Netflix that's coming out. As I have to keep talking because I didn't shut it off in time, which means I need to play the song again. Vikings is must-see TV. I can't believe how good it's been, bro. Really, it's been awesome. Pale Horse Rider NBCT. I will definitely be catching up, and I know we'll definitely be talking about Vikings. In that last half of the season, I'll be talking about every episode. I've heard this season, nothing but good things about this season, but I've been trying to stay away from it to a certain extent because I don't want to be spoiled. But I heard it is back to form a little bit this half of the season, and it's going in really good places, and I can't wait to see how it concludes. Joe is doing well. He's still suffering a little bit from the thing that was causing him to not be able to podcast, but he's ready to podcast now, and he'll talk more about it when he's up on live in the air. But you'll be able to see real quick what's wrong with Joe, and you guys can all give him a hug. The channel for Vikings is the History Channel. What's that? Oh, what's that channel for Vikings? King McKay. King McKay, he doesn't do long-form discussions about Vikings, but he does a preview for the most recent episode and a breakdown for the episode that just came out. King McKay is, like I said, probably the best person right now that is talking about Vikings. So if you want some more coverage, Viking stuff, in my stead, I refer you to King McKay. Everything is awesome, Pale. I mentioned this a few times, but right now I'm in the midst of doing a play, and it's been manipulating my time. So it's been harder for me to come out and use, like percentages of my brain on anything but that. But I'm going into my final weekend. Friday starts the final weekend of performances, and then I'm all done. So I'll be playing a lot of catch up and being out here more. But everything's been going great, and it's been a lot of fun. And I appreciate all the people that have been coming out to that show and checking it out. Yes, King McKay. Just if you do a quick Google search or a YouTube search of Vikings reviews, King McKay will be one of the first people that pops up. Oh, thank you, Pale. But Definitely check out his stuff. But I will be talking about this season of Vikings. I might just be playing a catch up and talking about the whole half a season when I get a chance to binge it, and then talking about the final season episode by episode, or the final half of season episode by episode when that happens. Or is this the final episode, season episode by episode? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's one more half of season after this. But I will be back talking about that. And I apologize one more time for the break. It had to happen. I feel like if I shit talk actors all the time, I have to try acting every once in a while. I don't know. It makes me feel better about myself shit-talking. Like, I was shit-talking The Walking Dead and the actors so much that I started to feel shitty about myself. I'm like, well, if I'm shit-talking shows and actors this bad, I kind of need to do it myself and rag on myself, too. So when I come back, I'll be ragging on myself and my own performances as well, just to make myself feel better. But no, everyone, and everyone that's come to the show, thank you so much. I love you guys. I can't wait to talk about this final season of Vikings, and I can't wait to share my opinions of it and share my opinions on a lot more shows. This was a lot of fun to come back out here and babble to you guys. Thank you to Pale, thank you to Misty, thank you to Pretty Rick Sanchez and all of our people that were popped in there earlier. Big love to Carmine from Red Team Review. Love you, man. You were fucking awesome. Huge hug to you. And if you haven't already, definitely check out Red Team Review for some amazing podcasts with Carmine and Preston, and some good stuff from Carmine as well, who just did a really good first thoughts review on The Witcher. So if you are curious of what that's about and you haven't checked that out as well, definitely check out Carmine's most recent review of The Witcher. It kind of breaks down the first couple of episodes and his thoughts on that. It can kind of give you an idea of that from someone who's a big fan of the video game series. Carmine is, and kind of knows the world well. So definitely check that out. Will you review upcoming shows, Westworld and others? One more time, I'll go over the list of upcoming shows coming up. Westworld, absolutely, we'll be reviewing episode by episode Westworld. Better Call Saul, episode by episode. This Picard stuff, episode by episode. And the final season of Vikings, catching up on that. And if there is one more half a season, episode of that. Bojack Horseman, talking about the final season of Bojack. This Game of Thrones prequel series, House of Dragons, as we lead into that. I'll be talking about that as well. And talking about the show, I can't think of the name of it. and more shows I can't think of the name of. Ozarks. I'll be talking about Ozarks. I don't know about episode by episode because I'm not sure if I can control myself and not binge watch the whole season when that finally comes back. But I'll be talking about that and just general topics as well. Got to do some more roundabouts where I catch up on multiple programs, talk about a little bit more about The Walking Dead again as well, and some stuff that's been coming out in this off season as they're finally accepting that the show is going downhill, and some more fun stuff coming up soon. So I know I almost missed the music again. This is the last time, finally. I love you guys. I'll talk to you guys very, very soon. Until the next live stream. Love you guys in the motherfucking chat. Good night.